Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. Today we're going to show you how to do a FlowTie from this emblem here on my Camaro. And the process on taking off the emblem I'm going to put down in the description. I have another video that shows how to do that without trying to pry it off with a screwdriver. You don't want to do that. So sorry for the voiceover. The audio format of this camera wasn't supported by my editing software, so I'm having to go back and try to explain what I'm doing after the fact. So here I have the emblem off, and we're going to be removing the gold section of that chrome. Now some people leave the grill like that and just take that center portion out and leave the bow tie outline and just leave the whole emblem off. I think that looks good too, but I want to have the chrome on there more like the original GM, and so we're going to show you that on the workbench. So here on the workbench I'm taking out the gold section because we're going to be drilling holes. It was kind of a trial and error way, several different tools. Some people have used an end mill, I've heard. I tried drilling it and I tried dremeling it. This material is not super hard. I mean, it's plastic, but it's harder than the black plastic that the grill's made out of. The black plastic grill is very soft. In fact, later on in the video I'll show using the Dremel sanding drum on it, and it basically melts it. It doesn't sand it off, it just melts it off. So I realized the glue here, or not the glue, but the tape, the black tape, it was really sticky. It didn't want to really come off, so I just kind of left it on there. So I got an 1/8 inch drill bit, and you want to stay away from the chrome edge. You'll have plenty of opportunity to get close to that later. You don't want to mar the chrome edge by the drill hitting onto it. So what I did was I just drilled several holes all around the area that I'm wanting to remove, and then we're going to go through and connect those holes. And I tried connecting them with a soldering iron. When I say connecting them, I mean going from hole to hole, melting the plastic away. I have an old soldering iron, so it wasn't a big deal. But we tried that, and then I ended up using a Dremel with a bit on it, and that'll come later in the video as well. So that seemed to work the best. It was very time consuming, and a lot of patience was needed to do it right without damaging the chrome. So it looks like I'm just explaining more about the tape and how sticky it is. And how you could use a knife along that edge and try cutting it out with a knife. I've heard people trying to do that. I had some pretty good size X-Acto knives, and they didn't want to cut into that plastic very well. So I found drilling the holes right next to each other all the way around in that area there, all the way around, worked pretty good. And then I ended up using the Dremel a little later. Okay, so here's the back side of after I drilled the holes all the way around. You can see that they're pretty close together. There's some ribbing, structural ribbing there that's a little bit difficult to get around, and your drill bit will want to walk out of where you're thinking it's going to go, and you got to be careful because you will run into that into that chrome edging that you want to stay away from that, because that's going to be exposed when it's all done. Alright, so in this portion of the clip, I'm showing you right there the bit that I was using on the Dremel. I tried a soldering iron. I have an old soldering iron, but it just didn't melt it very good, and it just kind of made a mess. This bit cuts really well, but because of the rotation of the bit, it can be a little squirrely, so you have to really hold on to it at times, especially when you hit the rib supports in there. You can see I'm going right through those holes that I drilled. It's hogging it out pretty quick. So this seemed to be the best way to get rid of this section, and I also used this on the grill as well to get the major piece out. I have the rag down because I don't want to scratch the chrome on the countertop. So just continuing to go around from hole to hole with the bit until it was completely gone through where the center could fall out, and then we'll go on to the next step of refining it. Here's right about where I get done and get the center section out. That's pretty rough. So that's pretty much junk. You'll just throw out the center section. You might want to keep it to, maybe if you want to try different adhesives, you can test it on that plastic. So this is the bit that I actually used. It's a little drum sander. It's a drum onto a core arbor. It's a little rubber arbor, and it's on pretty slow. I guess I have the setting around 20, and I'd already done some sanding on the edge. That's why I have some smooth areas there. I had to edit quite a bit of this video because it was over an hour long altogether. So I'm just going to be taking this sander and refining it down, getting rid of those bumps that were left from the holes that I drilled, and hogging it out with the other bit. So obviously great care had to be taken that I don't slip and mar the chrome, and that I don't take more off than I needed to. So I'm just continuing to smooth the edges out. So here I'm taking an X-Acto knife and just cutting away some of the plastic that's gotten into the corners, cleaning up the corners. Because the drum sander is round, it doesn't work so great in some areas. So just cleaning up. You can see here on the close-up, the gray line is the plastic, and then you have that thin chrome line. It's that thin chrome line that I'm trying to preserve, because you're going to see that later on in the video when I mount it to the grill. Here I'm using a grinder wheel because it's flat on the face, and that actually helps to flatten out the areas and get them square. So I'm actually getting rid of the plastic that goes right up to that chrome edge with that flat face, and we're pretty much done at this point. I did use some jeweler's files to help clean up some areas, but it looks pretty good. You can see right there where my finger is. I kind of got rid of the chrome on the inside. I originally was looking at mounting options there, but as you'll see later, I actually end up painting it anyway. So here I'm taking the Dremel and cutting out the inside portion and I use the same bit that I used for the emblem. And a lot of this I edited out because it's really boring. But that intersection there just kind of fell right in there. And so it's lost where the cooler is. And I just took the drum sander there and cleaning that up a little bit. Once again, just smoothing out. As you can see there, it's still pretty rough. The lines aren't very straight, and it's kind of a white edge where the sandpaper was rubbing on it, and just putting the emblem up there to see how much more I had to go. That gray edge in the back is actually the back part of the emblem butting up against the black ABS of the grill. And so we're going to get rid of that here with some black appliance paint I got from Ace Hardware. And I just sprayed some in the cap here. And we're going to paint the back side of the chrome emblem. And I painted everything that wasn't chrome. So just spread that on, let it dry, put another coat where needed, very carefully when coming up next to the chrome, not to get any on the chrome. And then I went to the grill and actually put some on the edge that I sanded to darken that up. The sanding drum tend to make it a little white, kind of a gray color almost, I guess. And this paint helped darken it up. So that's what it looks like on the inside of the chrome emblem now. And that helps make it harder to see the back side of the emblem when it's mounted, and you can also see where I painted on that edge. Now the inside isn't so noticeable. So here is some JB Weld plastic weld. It's basically an epoxy paste. It's good because it doesn't flow all over the place. Well, you just knead it like dough, like I'm doing here. And I ended up splitting it in two pieces and just rolling out the two pieces. And then I'm gonna put it into the corners of the emblem. I thought of some other options like using screws and epoxying screws in, and I found this just to be easier, and because it's only mounted in two places, if I really had to take the emblem off, obviously I would take it off because it's damaged. I would be putting a new one on, so I could just cut this one out. You notice how the epoxy is raised on the corner, on the edge? That's so when I press it into the grill, it will actually make good contact with the edges here. You see the edges I'm pointing at? I left that there deliberately so the epoxy would have something to press against. So when I put the emblem in here, you can see there, that epoxy is pressing against the grill on that little section. I'm just going to reach inside the emblem and kind of smush that epoxy around that piece that was on the grill, just to get a little bit on the back side so it hooks it in when it dries. And just kind of smooth it out. I don't want to see it too much, and that's pretty much it. I went back and painted the epoxy with the same paint, and then went through the hole here and through here and also down through here and cleaned up all my chips from when I was grinding that away. You don't want that. You don't want any chips and filings and everything from the ABS getting into your cooler, into the fins of your cooler. And I actually ended up getting that all cleaned up with the vacuum. Well, that's it. It was very sturdy. As you can see, I'm pulling on it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like my channel, please subscribe and hit the bell notification, and that'll let you know when I have other videos. So I appreciate it. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.